I am a 15-year-old girl, and my father is not okay with me starting to date yet. I have never had a boyfriend before, but feel like I want one. We are really close, and I feel like I can talk to him about most things, but he can be strict about certain things like dating. I think he is mostly worried about me engaging in sexual activities with a boy because he has mentioned it when I have tried to talk to him about wanting to start dating or have a boyfriend. He also thinks I am too young to have a boyfriend at 15 and should not focus on this right now. I see other people my age in relationships and feel a little left out because I cannot. My friend even has a boyfriend, so her parents are okay with her dating but still have strict rules about it. Story 1. Do not ask these people. Head to the dad subreddit. I am a father. I have a son and I cannot give you a comparison. Understanding your father's point of view would help you counter-argue and come up with a compromise. I am sure that as a father, he is worried. Story 2. I'm surprised everyone is saying 15 is too young. Most kids I knew when growing up started having girlfriends a bit before or around that age. Some of them may have been fooling around, but a lot were not. They just liked each other and would do sweet things for each other. Many kids, though not all, would not feel comfortable with anything sexual at young ages anyway. The only real issue I can think of would be sexual matters. I expect it is very hard for parents to figure out how to handle that. Realistically, it is also something parents do not have full control over. You do your best to raise them with some understanding of sex education and to be careful because, whether you allow them or not, you will never fully know what they are doing when you are not around. Otherwise, unless they are a bad influence, it should not really matter. I have definitely heard of parents being strict about whether their kid can have a boyfriend or girlfriend, so it is not entirely shocking. But because many comments say you are too young, I wanted to share another perspective. I am not telling you to disobey your father. I do not know your situation, but to me it is not unreasonable to want a boyfriend at your age. Story 3. I am 33 years old, and I met my wife when I was 15. The comment section feels strange. 15 is an acceptable age for dating. Going on a date with someone does not necessarily imply that something sexual is happening. As long as you remain focused on school, I do not see why there is an issue. Story 4. I assume you are a sophomore or junior in high school. That is an appropriate age to start dating. Does he expect you to wait until you graduate, become an adult, and not know what you are getting into? It is better to start dating around this age so you can identify certain types of people and behaviors to look for or avoid as you get older. Story 5. Children play in order to learn. At your age, you are not dating to marry, but you should be dating others your age. You need to learn the social dynamics of relationships in a low-risk environment. Ask your father. Would he rather you learn to establish boundaries with a partner when dating in high school, or after your husband comes home drunk and abuses you? Would he rather you identify a problematic person now or after marrying him? Yes, you will get heartbroken. Yes, you will make mistakes. That is the whole purpose. You need experience in a safe environment. This is essential. People who say you must be 100% ready before dating do not understand how humans learn. No one says, don't rehearse until you are ready for the big play. No one says, don't play war games until you are ready to die in a trench. No one says, don't play with building blocks until you have a permit. Yet these are equivalent to saying, don't date until you are ready to marry. Let your father know he cannot protect you forever. You need to learn to protect yourself, and it is best to learn while he is around to support and guide you. Story 6. Honestly, these comments are kind of off. Your age is perfectly normal to start dating. That doesn't mean being sexually intimate. I would encourage you to wait until you are a bit older for that. Coming from someone who lost their virginity at your age, I wish I had waited. It is perfectly normal to want to experience infatuation, crushes, and love at this age. I'm not sure what to do about your dad, though. I would encourage you to keep being honest with him. It seems like you two are close, and lying will probably damage your relationship. Parents typically find out one way or another. Story 7. These comments are strange. 15 is an appropriate age to start dating and learning about relationships with supervision. All these 40-year-old first date daughter mine morons are not real answers. Edit. Look at the original poster's post history. They have their head on straight enough to know their boundaries. Story 8. Being a parent to a teenager involves learning to gradually loosen boundaries in a safe and controlled way. Failure to do so is a failure of parenting. If strict no-dating rules are always enforced, you miss developing the skills to stand on your own. He can either back off and allow some level of dating, or he is setting you up to be vulnerable the moment you turn 18 and gain legal independence without having prepared you. This leaves you exposed to predatory individuals. By maintaining a hard ban on dating, he encourages you to either date secretly, developing patterns of deception, taking greater risks, and increasing the likelihood of sexual assault, date rape, pregnancy, or other negative outcomes. B. Rebel intensely once outside his direct control, potentially engaging in reckless behavior fueled by frustration. It is completely normal to be interested in dating at this age. Parents who prohibit dating often do so out of fear, concerns about safety, heartbreak, sexuality, or cultural values. Recognize that this is not about control for its own sake, but about love, concern, and sometimes outdated ideas about readiness. Instead of insisting on unrestricted dating immediately, suggest gradual steps. Group outings with friends, including the person you are interested in. Supervised hangouts or family nearby. Parents driving you to and from specific public locations for dates. Clear communication about where, when, and with whom. Setting curfews or check-in rules. Story 9. You say you have good communication with him, so ask him why he doesn't want you to date. Tell him you want to, explain why, and share your intentions. Be open and honest about sex. I was fearful for my daughter entering the dating world. At 15, she was convinced by a boy that if he didn't have sex, he would end up in the hospital. She wasn't ready for sex, and I'm sad that was her first experience. Hopefully, your father is trying to protect you from something like that, and the two of you can discuss his concerns. Story 10. If you just want a boyfriend, you are not ready for a boyfriend. A girlfriend or boyfriend is not an accessory like a laptop or phone. You do not get one at the store when you want one. If there is a particular guy in your life who makes you think about a relationship, try to convince your father that this guy is responsible and can be trusted not to harm you emotionally or physically. If there is no particular guy, then you do not need a boyfriend and are not ready for one. Story 11. Most likely, your dad does not want you to get pregnant, so he does not want you to have a boyfriend at all. This is not the right way for him to approach this, as clearly you can have sex without commitment. I suggest having a safe sex conversation with your dad, explaining that you do not intend to start having sex. You are just looking for companionship and fun. Is your mom involved at all? If so, have the conversation with her first, try to get her on your side, and then present a united front to your dad. Good luck. Story 12. 15 is perfectly normal. Or you can wait until you are in your mid-20s and struggle to figure it out while everyone else is fine. You need social practice. Story 13. I am in my early 20s now, and looking back, I firmly believe both parties in my relationship when I was 18 were incapable of actually taking responsibility for their roles simply because we did not have the maturity to handle what it entailed. I do not blame you if a romantic relationship appeals to you, but I can assure you that once you find out the regular crises couples, especially young ones, have to go through, you will focus on your own. After all, only the good parts of a relationship are publicized. The fights, arguments, and disagreements are kept behind closed doors. Story 14. Dad, I understand you do not like the thought. Maybe I will not either if I have a son sometime, but this is the time I should learn to discern what is good for me and what is bad for me. Is your mindset fixed that it is better for me to start learning that when I am farther from home? Story 15. Why not invite the boy you are interested in to dinner at your house? This would give your father a chance to meet him and determine if he is a good guy or not, while giving your father the satisfaction of the good old whatever you do to her, I am going to do to you talk. Also, just from a father's perspective, I would say maybe listen to him a little bit. If your first relationship ends up being a bad one, there is a possibility that it could affect future relationships down the road. Story 16. Realistically, what are you going to do at 15? Go on a date while your father drives? I do not really see a problem with that, but your options are limited. You are a kid. You cannot really work and make money, and neither can anyone else your age. The opinions of strangers on the internet also are not really going to make a difference. Story 17. Hey, I understand that it is tough to see your friends dating while your father says no. However, it sounds like he really cares and just wants to protect you. At 15, things can get complicated quickly, and perhaps he notices things in the boys around you that you do not yet see. He is not trying to ruin your fun. He is just making sure you are safe and not rushed into something you are not ready for. That is love, even if it feels strict right now. Story 18. My advice. Make and grow lasting friendships, focus on learning, and become a good person. You have plenty of time to date. Dating is better when there is no outside pressure. It seems like you are putting that pressure on yourself because you feel left out. Do not date just anyone because your friends are dating. Focus on who you are and want to be first. The rest will fall into place. You are young. Enjoy being young. Spend time with friends. Focus on learning. And do not date anyone who disrespects you. Ever. Story 19. If you want a boyfriend because your friend has a boyfriend, then you are not mature enough to start dating. Story 20. Hey there. My daughter is your age. She is not allowed to date until she is 16 because I want her to be independent and mobile if she needs to be, so she is not reliant on her relationships for transportation. I think you should try to understand why or who you want to date. What is the reason? Once you have an answer, ask why again to really drill down into your motivation. If you do that and still feel this way, then talk with dad and let him know how you feel. Ask him what his expectations and concerns are, and how you can work together to find common ground. 15 is young, but maybe he feels differently about 16. Story 21. The problem I have with dating at such a young age is that it is not just going out on dates with various people. It is immediate coupling, also known as boyfriend and girlfriend status. Once upon a time, girls and guys would date multiple people because it was more casual. Going steady would be a big deal, and it was not assumed. Now 14-year-olds are engaging in intimate activities behind the high school shrubs. It makes me very sad. Story 22. Young girls are easily taken advantage of by slightly older boys, so I do not disagree with your father. Just enjoy being a kid a little longer. Story 23. Honestly, sweetie, your father is coming from a place of love and concern. I know it feels like he just does not want you to have fun, but he really wants you to be safe. Introducing boys into the mix at this age can cause problems, and your father is trying to look out for you. Just because other people your age are dating does not mean that you have to. Believe me, it is better to do things on your terms and not just because others are doing it. I wish I had listened to that when I was your age. Story 24. Speaking as a girl dad and also as a former 15-year-old boy, I certainly understand where your dad is coming from. I was strict with my daughter, but she handled herself pretty well. Now that she's grown up, I got the more unfiltered version, but I survived learning what was really up. Things my daughter told me after she was a complete adult and paying her own way. Glad I was strict and set limits. Glad I taught her to respect herself and insist boys treat her that way. Glad I always opened her mother's and her car door. She used it as a measuring stick for how boys would treat her in private. Most failed. Glad I didn't make a big deal out of the little things. But mostly, I think she appreciated that I actually cared enough to care. Sounds like your dad is trying to do that too. Story 25. I understand your dad as a father of 3 girls. I would consider myself to be on the stricter side, too. Ask if he would be okay with double dates. We allow that when the girls are 16. Offer a curfew. Don't go crazy and say 1 a.m., maybe 11 to 11:30 p.m. to start. Allow at-home meetings with everyone going out and give your parents a clear itinerary. Dinner, movie, and possibly ice cream. If he allows, make sure to give him several of the other kids' phone numbers. I had them but never called. You could also allow phone tracking. Story 26. People need to understand how the brain works and develops. At 15, you are more prone to making poor decisions, which is why I agree with the father on this one. It is better to wait. Sure, you can start dating at 15, but it comes with a higher risk. Relationships are the best when they are good, but the worst when they are bad, and they can seriously affect academic performance. Because both parties are very young, the chances of one of them causing issues in the relationship are higher. I remember a lot of kids in high school and middle school had the worst relationship drama. I do not think I saw that in college. Story 27. As a father myself, in my opinion, and what I tell my teenagers, is if you are not prepared to build a life and possibly have a baby, then it is better to just have friends, study, and prepare until you reach the point where you are ready. Usually, once you acquire a trade or skill, you cannot count on a spouse or partner being there forever, as they may abandon you or pass away. This advice applies equally to boys and girls. Story 28. Let's be honest, no matter what he says, you can go behind his back and date anyway. Having said that, I had my first proper relationship from ages 15 to 17. While it was fun, I am glad it's over and I can be on my own. Honestly, I don't think I would do it again since finishing high school, sixth form, and starting university. So many things get set back a bit by being in a relationship. Just my 2 cents. Story 29. My input might be different compared to most, but I do think 15 is an appropriate time to at least dip your toes into dating. Your father is right about being protective, but I do not think a total shutout is appropriate at all. My parents did that to my siblings and me, and now they wonder why we are all chronically single in our mid to late 20s while all our friends are already in long-term relationships, getting married, and starting families while we have not even gotten off the starting point. There needs to be a middle ground because dating is important for growth and development as a human being, unless you are aromantic asexual. Story 30. I agree with you that 15 is a normal age for kids to start dating. If you were a boy, I highly doubt he would care. If you have shown that you are mature in all other actions, then I would approach it in that manner by bringing examples of how you have demonstrated maturity in your decision-making. You are getting a lot of ridiculous answers here from men who say, "My daughter is not dating until 30. I know how boys are and what they want." Story 31. Romantic relationships take time to figure out. The earlier you start to learn, the better. Just be safe and do not make it your reason for existing. It is unsettling how many fathers are overly concerned about their daughters' sexual and romantic lives. Purity culture is unfounded. Story 32. Maybe telling him you would be okay with following rules like your friend has on dating. Some fathers are just too controlling, so I do not know if yours will let you, no matter what. If I am being honest, you might just have to wait until you can move out. Story 33. 15 is too young to start dating. However, there is nothing wrong with developing feelings for someone in your friend group. Tell your father that having feelings is not something you can be too young for. Story 34. I don't think he's being unreasonable, but maybe suggest group dating to him. I think it's a good idea not to spend time alone with any guys until you have some experience in a group setting. Another option is to go on dates with one of your parents as a chaperone. For example, you could go to dinner with a guy while your dad drives you there and sits at another table. Or if you go to a movie, he sits a little ways away from you. Many guys might not be okay with this, but you don't want to date any guy who wouldn't respect your parents' rules anyway. Story 35. You will never have another man in your life who has no motive other than for you to live long and be happy. Millions of girls have rushed to grow up, and many pay the price. Listen to your dad. He was 15 once. He knows. Story 36. Would he feel more comfortable if you invited a boy over to hang out? Your father might just want reassurance that you are mature enough to handle a relationship like this responsibly. It will also give him the chance to scare your boyfriend a bit, which fathers love to do. Story 37. Honestly, I would listen to him. My mother was the same way about getting a girlfriend before I turned 18. Looking back, it makes sense, especially considering that many high school relationships and younger have only about a 2 to 5% chance of lasting into adulthood. Story 38. As a young woman, I wish I had felt comfortable with dating earlier. I did a lot of unsafe things when I was 18 and left home. I didn't know what red flags to look out for and got lucky that I didn't end up in worse situations. Starting dating now allows you to learn these things while still under your parents' protection. I wish I had been comfortable talking to my parents about relationships because then I might have been warned or made aware of certain things. As for sex, you are at an age where biologically you may want to have it. They should be educating you on it and how to go about it safely at the least. Explaining why they don't want you to do it yet will help you understand and make that choice better than just saying no. Not being taught the importance of these things, I was lucky not to catch a sexually transmitted disease that could have changed my life forever. I am lucky none of the people I interacted with online posted my pictures or videos. Even as someone who is very intelligent and has always been mature for my age, I did a lot of things flippantly, apathetic to the potential consequences. Feel free to show your father what I have said to help him gain perspective. It is up to him to protect you while you are still young. My parents not allowing things and not talking them through with me led me to do some potentially dangerous things, and this has been the case for many others. Many of them had much worse consequences than I did. Story 39. What you imagine and what your father imagines when you both think about you having a boyfriend are very different. You need to have a reasonable conversation that brings those perspectives together, shows you are doing it for the right reasons, and demonstrates that you understand his point of view and the concerns he has as a father. Story 40. Honestly, writing a letter expressing how you feel and asking for support and understanding is the best approach. Explain that you believe 15 is an appropriate age to have feelings for boys since you have already gone through puberty. Mention that you would introduce any boy you want to date, and he could agree to let you date or not. You might also add that you would be going on double dates with friends. I also had strict parents, and it is honestly a difficult situation all around. However, if the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints allows their kids to date in group settings at 16, then others should too. Story 41. I think 15 or 16 is a reasonable age to start dating. If I were your dad, I would probably sit you down and talk about all the different things to expect in dating. Not just sex, but mostly what type of people to look for, what red flags to watch out for, and so on. I would want to warn you about red flags that mean you should leave immediately, what emotional manipulation looks like, and never meeting someone from the internet without a trusted adult or older friend present. I understand his fears, but I think he should realize that by not addressing anything, it puts you at more risk. I would probably suggest going out on public dates or hanging out at family homes with doors open and adults present as a good compromise. Maybe you could bring up points like how you are getting older, that dating is going to happen soon, and that you want to have a serious talk about his anxieties regarding your dating. Explain why he can trust you. You can discuss boundaries and compromises you both can agree on so that you can try dating. I know it is hard to talk to your dad about this at your age, and it may not be a fun conversation, but it seems you have a good relationship. I am sure that if you have a calm, honest talk, you both can come to an agreement. Good luck. Story 42. Making good decisions in romance is one of the hardest things humans deal with. That being said, it might be appropriate to start gaining experience at your age. I encourage you to express your feelings on this with your father, with particular emphasis on how you plan to continue making mature decisions. However, at the end of the day, you will have to follow his guidance. Even if he trusts you, he might not trust whoever you choose. Chances are, he does not trust you completely. You should not take that personally. He probably has these rules based on experience. It is an uncomfortable thought. Every person at your age and older has the capacity to make some unwise decisions when in romantic situations. The human brain literally loses its ability to remain completely rational when romance is involved. Evolution encouraged those decisions for millions of years. My advice is to remain completely honest with your father. The most persuasive argument you can make is to show him that you understand the seriousness of the situation and the maturity required to navigate it. Suggest ways to maintain safety and accountability. This will probably involve more of his oversight than you are comfortable with. Be prepared to make difficult and mature decisions going forward. It is painful to tell someone you care about deeply that you want to stop and slow down, get home early, and not go somewhere without clearing it with your father first. Especially because it will not be true you will want to do those things badly. But you need to stop anyway. Story 43. 15 is still pretty young. I did not start until I was 16, and it was messy and affected my grades. Story 44. First of all, you are 15 years old. Go and study and listen to your father. Second, people should not enter relationships just because they want to. Listen to your father. Otherwise, there is a high chance you will ruin your whole life. Story 45. 15 is not too young to start dating, but there are many more years of dating ahead of you. My wife and I met when we were 15 years old. We married after 12 years of dating, were engaged for 10 years, and have been married for 8 years. You may also want to read more about relationships. Most schools or public libraries have librarians who can help you find good books. Having an idea of what you want from your early relationship years is probably the best place to start so you can learn and grow from there. Story 46. Why not just make friends and enjoy your life? Listen to your father when it comes to dating too soon. If your father is against it, then do not misplace your father's trust in you just for a boy. Story 47. I know it is not what you want to hear, but your father is right. I was 15 years old once and wish I had stayed away from every boy I met in my teens. Did I listen to my parents? No. Story 48. Gaining experience interacting romantically with men is a good idea. Having sexual relationships with men outside of committed long-term relationships is a bad idea. Story 49. You just have to get your dad to trust you and trust the person you want to date. I have a niece I am pretty close with, almost like a second father to her. She is 14. I am not thrilled about the prospect of her dating. I know what most teenage boys are after, but I know dating happens. It happened when I was a kid, it happens on television, in young adult books, and so on. If she wants to date someone, she will with or without her parents' permission. It is better that we set some guidelines, trust her to be reasonable, and let her start making some of her own decisions and mistakes now while we can still help her recover from them easily and she learns she can truly trust us. The alternative is that she hides things until it becomes too much to handle and then explodes on everyone. The path of least resistance is better. Many would say dating later is better. In some ways, it is, but in other ways, it is not. I started dating late. It helped because I was smarter, but it also caused some social problems and made me a bit more set in my ways. I probably missed out on some opportunities because of it. Story 50. I'm a dad. I have a couple of daughters, but they're much younger. You seem like you have a good head on your shoulders, and he seems like a good dad, just from what I can assume. Let him know you appreciate him, that he has taught you well, and that he has to trust you. Tell him you'll always call him whenever you need him. A parent forbidding something is a sure way to get the kid to do it. I think a 15-year-old is naturally ready to start learning about this part of life, especially with a parent as well-rounded as yourself. All you can do is be honest with him, and he'll appreciate it. Story 51. My 15-year-old was dating while living with his mother. One day, I received the dad. I messed up call because he thought his girlfriend was pregnant. Now, he realizes that I told him to avoid this because he was not ready. He now understands why he was not ready. Story 52. Dad here. Sit down and talk to him. Find out what's on his mind. It will be an uncomfortable conversation, so be prepared. As much as it hurts, our kids grow up, and we have to let them make some mistakes on their own. It's either you go on your first date while living at home and have your dad to fall back on, or you wait until college or living on your own without any clue how to recognize the red flags. Is there a boy or girl you have in mind? Or are you just looking for permission in case it happens? How do you deal with school dances? Has that come up yet? For many dads, that is the introduction to our kids dating. Have you had the talk with your parents yet? By your age, you should have talked to them about something. If not, there's a bigger problem. Remember, your dad was once 15. He was a long time ago. He knows what they're like and what they want. Good luck. Story 53. Maybe not jump into boyfriend, but start seeing if you can have a guy over to the house while he is there. Story 54. Most kids start to date in high school. He is delusional if he thinks otherwise. But I am not a dad, so what do I know? Your dad is probably just thinking about the worst-case scenario and not the benefits that dating can have in terms of growing up and gaining life experience. In any case, prohibition does not work at all, but just be smart if you start dating. Set your boundaries and do not do anything you are uncomfortable with. That is really important. Story 55. Now is the time your father has an influence on you. It is the best time for him to teach you about dating and about relationships with men. For him, this is the ideal time because you want to learn, and he can help by providing a male perspective, moral support, and fatherly advice. He cannot do this once you move out and he has less influence on your life. Story 56. Ask your father what kind of boy he was and whether you would have needed to avoid him if you had met. His insistence is worrying me based on how he was as a teenager. Open dialogue is important, as is understanding one another. Story 57. If it helps, it has nothing to do with your age. When you are in your 40s, he will feel exactly the same. Story 58. This is important. Holding someone back may leave them ignorant, naive, and vulnerable to exploitation when they start dating independently. The same issue often occurs with the sudden freedom that comes with turning 21 and alcohol access in college. Easy access, combined with a lack of awareness about risks, leads to preventable tragedies. Regarding dating, it is better to ease into intimacy slowly over time. Ages 15 to 16 are ideal because everyone is learning together. Story 59. I am sending you my warmest hugs, if you will accept them. While I say this, I am an old grandmother who was a teenager in the 1970s when things were different. I dated a lot, but there is something that will never change. Having a boyfriend because you feel left out is never a good reason to have a boyfriend. That means you will just end up with someone who does not share who you are as a real person. The whole relationship will be about just being in a relationship. It will be surface level and will not make you feel good about yourself. You will likely end up disappointed or even hurt emotionally, or worse. Is 15 too young? Not in my view, but do not make the mistake of being with someone just because you feel alone and left out. You will end up feeling even worse. My daughter is grown, married, and has moved on. I want to say exactly what I said to her. If you come to me at age 15 and ask to date an absolutely amazing guy you met at school, someone with whom you have a lot in common, who encourages you, makes you laugh, and makes you feel safe, I would say yes, go for it. I would talk about some things you should know, but I would love that you found someone so good for you. However, if you come to me saying you want a relationship with anyone just because you feel left out, I would say exactly what your father says. Do not do it. Wait until you find that amazing guy first, someone worth standing up to your father for, worth upsetting your life for, because he is so good for you. Do that first. Do not fight to date until you find the truly amazing guy worth fighting for. If that does not happen until you are 20, then you will have saved yourself a lot of trouble that many women I know now regret. Be patient. Find that amazing guy worth standing up to your father for. Story 60. The worst thing you can do when asking for something is mentioning how other girls your age are already dating. That will get you nowhere. You should really listen to him. Story 61. You need to convince him that you are mature enough. Yes, I understand that I need to have the guy wear a condom at all times. Yes, I understand that the choking during sex trend is stupid and dangerous. I will not be talked into doing anything that I am not comfortable with. If you agree with these statements, maybe you will be able to persuade him that you can be trusted with a guy. Story 62. I suggest not talking to your father about dating as a general concept, but rather about specific instances where you would like to start a relationship. It is hard to give carte blanche permission on dating, but if there is a boy from school you are interested in, you can talk to your father about that and how you would like to build that relationship. It might be easier for your father to accept if it is less of a free-for-all. Story 63. We could sit here all day and talk about whether your father is being reasonable or unreasonable in his decision. But ultimately, I believe that is the piece that matters the least. Your father loves you and is trying to protect you. Fathers sometimes make decisions that are objective and well-balanced, and sometimes we make decisions that come from a place of fear and overprotectiveness. There is no way to know where your father is coming from. It is possible that at 15 you are responsible enough to start dating. It is equally possible that your father sees something we cannot factor in through the computer. We do not know. So I will focus on two things. 1. The fact that your friends are doing something will never be a good enough reason for you to do it as well. A difficult lesson for a young person striving for independence to learn is that you should not compare yourself or your life to others. But it is also a very important lesson. because comparing what you can or cannot do to what other people can or cannot do will be an ongoing source of discontent. Your life is your life, and you need to navigate it in the reality of where you are. Your reality is that your father is not okay with dating right now, and if you focus on the fact that some of your friends can, you will just bring yourself down. You are 15. That means your parents make the rules. Going against those rules will never be the proper way to show them that you deserve more trust or more freedoms. Quite the opposite. So if your father does not want you to date because he thinks you are not mature enough yet, for example, disrespecting his rule and going behind his back, as someone suggested, will only reinforce his perception that you are not mature enough. Your post shows that you have tried to talk to him about it before. Have you approached it from a place of wanting to understand his reasoning rather than trying to argue for what you want? My recommendation is that you start there and focus on tailoring responses to show him that you are mature enough, responsible enough, and trustworthy enough to be given this freedom you seek. And if he changes his position, make sure your actions do not cause him to regret it, because that will be worse for your social life than not being able to date now. Story 64. Try to appeal to any sense of empathy in him. I am sure he dated people in high school, so it is only fair you get to do the same. However, realize that parents restrict certain things because they want to protect you from harm. Dating in high school can escalate quickly, and given how reckless teenagers can be, you probably do not want to end up heartbroken, traumatized, or worse. Story 65. I don't know your dad. He has had a whole life with varying experiences with love, dating, heartbreak, and sex. He probably doesn't remember what it's like to not know all of that. Plus, you are in the middle of puberty. Everything must seem so dramatic to you. For him, barely any time has passed since you were 12, emotionally speaking. Try talking to him about talking to him first, like how you don't know how to approach him about this and how to share things if he only blocks it. See how that goes and establish a way for you both to be comfortable talking about it. Also, there is a new crash course on YouTube about sex education. Watch it and tell all your friends. American schools are bad at sex education, and Crash Course is, as usual, very good at informing people about topics. Good luck with your dad. Story 66. Stick to school. Boys are really immature at your age. It's not even funny. I remember how I was at 15. Story 67. 15 is too young. Wait a while. 35 would be a good age for any daughter to date. Laugh out loud. Dad with daughter's comment above. Story 68. Dad here. Your father is trying to protect you. There is no other man in the world you should listen to more than him. He wants what is best for his princess. Dating implies too much at your age. Ask him to go to a movie with a friend. That is different. Story 69. My parents had a rule. No car dates until I was 16. I got a boyfriend at 14 and was allowed to hang out at his house, and he at mine. We had sex in my bedroom with the door open and my parents just down the hall. I was pregnant at 15. I do not know what you can take from my story. Use it as a warning that 15 may be too young, or you can see it as kids will do what they are going to do despite what the parents want. Story 70. As an adult who was allowed to date at that age, I will tell you it really is not all that. 15, it is nice to have friends, but dating at that age really impacted my life, and I wish I had waited. Try not to compare yourself to your friends either. In my experience, my parents only let me do most of what I wanted because they did not want to deal with me. My friends with strict parents are far more successful in life and relationships. The ones of US whose parents let us date early all got out of hand and ended up in situations we would be better off without. It is normal to want to date, especially when we see our friends doing it too. But consider your dad only wants to keep you safe. Maybe talk to him and suggest group dates, groups of friends getting together for a movie or bowling. Maybe that will help him be a little more comfortable as you will not be alone with anyone. Is your mom involved? Could you both sit with your dad and talk about it? I hope you can come to a conclusion that works for both of you, but just try not to rush it. Good luck to you. Story 71. You are not missing anything but pointless heartache and manipulation by boys trying to pressure you into something you are not ready for due to discomfort. Listen to your father and continue learning about yourself. Find a hobby, pick up an instrument or similar activities. Story 72. I am of two minds on this. Teenager hormones are strong and can lead to unpredictable behavior. There is nothing he can do to prevent you from dating, but he is right that a lot of drama follows dating in your teens. Focus on your academics first. Get a good education and do what you need to do to be successful in life. Love can come later. There is excitement in dating while a teenager in high school, but know that the drama can be distracting. If you go to college, your relationship will change. It is part of growing up. Listen to your father, but also understand that his experience may be different and why he is encouraging you not to date. Story 73. Honestly, I feel like 16 is the minimum age that kids should be dating. I know it does not seem like there is much difference between 15 and 16, but I promise you there is. You go through a lot of transitioning at that age, and genuinely, I have never met a 15-year-old I thought was mature enough to handle a relationship. Story 74. Go to the Reddit community Daddit for answers from a real perspective. Most of the responses here are from men without children. Story 75. Do not worry about missing out or feeling left out. None of that will matter after high school. You will have college to work all that out. 15 is really young, though. Do not try to rush things for the sake of rushing. Story 76. When you get older, you will realize how ridiculous that statement is. You want a boyfriend because your friend has one and you feel left out. Your father is trying to protect you. He was once a young man too and understands what goes on in a young man's hormonal mind. Story 77. Listen to Dad. One of my daughters wanted to date, but she was only 15. I asked her not to and to wait. When it is time to date, please use protection. Story 78. Men who are the most strict about their daughters dating are usually that way because they were predatory when they were younger and assume everyone else is, or they are religious fanatics, or both. Dating at 15 is totally normal. Story 79. I think your dad is speaking from when he was 15 and probably very attracted to girls, having difficulty realizing that his little angel will be exposed to that. Most boys experience attraction, but that doesn't mean they lack control or respect. Urges are natural feelings, and wanting to date and be physical with a boy is not strange. As your father, he will eventually want to set boundaries. You will want a boy will want you, and natural things will happen. He cannot shelter you from kissing and other experiences all your life. Most teenage relationships do not last, so it is more of an experimentation stage, which is normal because curiosity is part of being human. You can meet him halfway. Tell him you want to date but are willing to follow rules such as being home by a certain time, keeping doors open, and having him meet the boy. My first girlfriend's parents were very nervous about her dating until they met me and saw I was a good kid. We never even had sex. Story 80. Just keep the conversation going with your father about it. He might take a while to warm up to it. I am a father of a daughter and two sons. When they are crossing into new territory such as dating, riding with friends who have cars for the first time, or staying out later in the summer, typical teenage stuff, it is hard to change gears as a parent. We have spent your age keeping you out of harm's way and making decisions in your best interest. Those are hard keys to turn over, but they have to be turned over sooner or later. Keep bringing it up, reassuring him that you are capable and responsible enough to begin making these decisions, and that you would like to start making them under his guidance rather than having to wait until you are out of the house and he is not around. It may take multiple conversations, but he may come around. Story 81. I know two people who got together at 12 and are still together to this day 14 years later. They seem happy. I am not privy to every detail of their private life, but sometimes you can only go with what you see. Your dad might only be concerned, but you are at an age where this is better explored now. Wait too long, and you might be stunted in a few areas when you are older and considered an adult. The best way to do this is honestly only pursue something if you think or know it is mutual. That is where you can start hanging out outside of school as friends. Ease your dad into knowing there is an important person in your life outside of school, so any potential announcement in the future does not hit him like bricks. This would be his first time having his child explore what can be a lifelong experience for some people. He knows the positives and negatives that come with that experience since he has lived it already. Pursue your own desires, but try to include him in ways others have mentioned. You are not too young for this, but you would be too inexperienced to pursue something without involving him to some degree. Here in the United Kingdom, 16 is considered basically a mini adult. A lot of independence comes with this age, barring full independence expected at 18. I understand this is different in other countries, so if this is the case for you, just proceed slowly and with caution. Story 82. I have a son, so my perspective is different. But maybe you can ask him why he thinks it is too young. If you have a good relationship with him, you should be able to have a real conversation, and he should listen to you. You should also listen to him, of course. Story 83. All I have to say is remember when you were a teenager. The moment your parents told you no, you didn't rationally accept it. You got sneaky and found ways around their supervision. Sure, it is more convenient if she does not date at 15, but acting like it is not normal to have those desires during mid-puberty is interesting. Thank God she feels close to her dad and is talking to him about it. But if he keeps pushing the topic away completely, she is bound to avoid the topic around him and enter dating blindly. This is the time dad needs to increase communication and tell her it is a normal thing. He should guide her on how to look for good guys, not just act like dating does not exist. But what do I know? I do not have children, but I do know what it is like to exist as a hormonal teenager. Story 84. Feel like I want one. I would say you have the incorrect approach. You should not enter a relationship just because you want a boyfriend. You should know someone with whom you are happy and then want to be their girlfriend, not the other way around. Story 85. A rule my family has always had, going back to the boomer generation that served everyone, aunts, uncles, cousins, brother, sister, and me, extremely well, was to tie it to the following questions. Are you mentally and physically healthy? Can you legally drive yet? Are you passing most classes? Do you have your own transportation to allow you to go out on dates? If the answer to all of these is yes, we got the green light and blessings to actually start dating. If we failed to pass one, we had to fix it. If you end up washing out of one or more categories while you're still a child living at home, that sucks to be you, but you have to keep your priorities straight. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.